Hey, welcome here to a brand new episode. I'm your host, Dr. Faith Elizabeth Nanyonga. If you're listening in today, I'd like to take this minute to thank you for each and every time that you tune in to listen to me as I teach about career development and personal development. Your support is invaluable to me, and I don't take it for granted. If it's your first time here, welcome to the Frame Solution podcast. And if you'd like to be a fan, there are 3 ways you can support this show and spread the love. Every single share, subscribe count matters, so do not think your efforts go unnoticed. The first way you could support this show is by leaving a review in Apple Podcasts. Reviews not only make the world a better place for me as the podcast gets to many ears, but also rank our podcast higher in the podcast charts. You can subscribe to this podcast so that you do not miss out any episode as they are released. And also, you could choose to be a guest on the podcast by sending in an email. The email address is theframesolutions@gmail.com. Thank you once again. Hi guys, welcome here to a brand new episode on the Frame Solutions podcast. I am delighted that you're tuning in today. Welcome if you're new. Welcome back if you're a returning listener. I'm so glad that you're tuning in to listen to me today. So, last week there was no episode because I lost my voice. I am actually excited to have my voice back. Last week I could not speak. I got a cold and my voice went as a result of that cold. So in today's episode, I left you with some homework, asking you the questions that I asked you. So today we are going to tackle those questions. What is stopping me from getting ahead? Question number 2 is going to be, if I didn't have this fear, it might be fear, it might be those other reasons that I don't know that are stopping you from making the big leap in your career. Where would I be? So the question is, if I didn't have this, you can include fear or any excuse or any problem or any issues that you think are stopping you from getting ahead. Where would I be? How can I overcome this fear or that thing that is stopping you from making the leap that you need to make in your career? Fear is something that cripples us. Fear comes up because of the way our minds are made, that inherent nature of a human. Our brains keep us in fear because they need us to survive. So in this episode, we are going to delve in my framework on how I overcome fear. But if you're new here and you've never heard my voice, this is your first time you're tuning in, please download my blueprint to career clarity and fill it in. It will help you establish a career that you love and also help you create those career goals that are going to move you in the direction that you want to go to. If you want someone to help you structure this career on a one-to-one basis, I'm your girl. My email address is in the description of this episode. Write to me and I'll be sure to send you my calendar to book yourself a 30 minutes free call with me to help you start up your career and push yourself ahead. Without further ado, let's get right into it. So the first way I overcome this fear is acknowledging and accepting that I have this fear. The psychologists tell you the first step to change is to acknowledge and accept that you need to change. So I also acknowledge that I have this fear. Acknowledging this fear means that I know that it exists and I'm not living in oblivion. So you acknowledge the fear and accept it by saying, okay, I know I'm scared of doing this, but how can I overcome this fear? After I've accepted that fear, I look at the facts that exist. Say you are scared of advancing your career because you don't know what to do. You don't know where to start from. Whatever valid reason you might have, you are worried that if you apply for the job, you might not get it. You are worried that if you put yourself out there, you'll be rejected. You're worried that if you leave your comfort zone, things might not turn out the way you expect them. You're worried that when you change your career, you'll not find the fulfillment you're looking for in that new career. Like all those reasons that you have. But again, you look at the facts. What facts exist? The fact is, you have the fear. The fact is, you're going to work on this fear. The fact is, you've done things before that have put you in a fear state. For instance, I recall when I was moving to Australia in 2015, I had the fear of what to expect when I got here. But I knew I had moved to the UK before, and that transition was a good transition for me. So I looked at the facts that were existing, and by looking at those facts, I was able to step forward into moving to Australia with minimal fear at that. So acknowledge that you have the fear and look at the facts. Let's talk about it when it comes to advancing your career. You'll have to acknowledge that you need to change your career. The fact is, you've studied to get where you are right now. The fact is, you've done hard things before. The fact is, when you went to this job, you didn't know how this job was going to turn out. But you got in and you are where you are right now. Those are facts. When you look at those facts, they give you the confidence that you need to take your next step. They give you the confidence that you need to know that things will turn out better, but you can't know until you have stepped out of that comfort zone, until you have embraced that you want to do. What's the source of this fear? Try to pinpoint specifically what's causing you to be fearful. Is it the fear of failure? Is it the fear of rejection? Or is it simply the fear of not knowing what to expect? Understand the source of this fear and tackle it accordingly. I've already explained to you that you need to identify the fear, you need to acknowledge that you have the fear, and find ways to solve it. Number 3 is challenging the negative beliefs. I've been delving into the psychology of the mind because I've been trying to do a lot of introspection, which is self-awareness, understanding how my mind functions, because I have a mind like you. And on this journey of doing this, what I've discovered is most of the times when I'm fearful, I haven't taken time to understand that fear is a necessary part of me getting ahead. I haven't taken time to understand that fear is part of the process. Anything that you do not fear, you're not going to give it your best. Think about it. When athletes are going out to compete, let's say a marathon runner or a sprint runner, they have that fear. Am I going to win? How are people going to see me? Will I be injured as I perform this activity? What will come out of this? Will I be number one? They have all those fears. But in the process of having all those fears, you know what happens? The adrenaline kicks in. And that adrenaline helps them push further than they can push. It helps them commit to doing that task, that activity, that sport to the best of their ability. And most times, they win. I had a chance to listen to Usain Bolt when he won his last gold, how he talked after he had won in the shortest time possible, those 100 meters that he runs. And I recall him saying that it took him almost all his entire career to run the race in less than 10 seconds. And for him to get there, he had to overcome lots of those fears. The same applies to you. If you want to overcome the fear, you have to pinpoint where this fear is coming from. You have to know that fear is part of the process. Anything that you do not fear, you're not going to give it your all. Anything that you do not hold with high regard, you just do it for just doing it. You won't give it your best. So acknowledge the fear and go out and do it regardless of this fear. Number 4, challenge the negative beliefs. Our brains have been conditioned by how we've grown up. Our brains have been conditioned by who we've seen, the influences around us, the social media. All those result into the conditioning of our minds. And what happens? We pick up all these biases. These biases are referred to as cognitive biases. These cognitive biases are what usually hinder us from taking the action that we need. So you have to identify these cognitive biases and replace them with positive beliefs. The negative biases that you're having could be, I'm not good enough. There's so many people out there who are better than me. I don't think I'll have this job. I don't think I'll be able to make it. I don't have what it takes to excel. I don't have what it takes to be what I want to be. No one is here to push me. You have to acknowledge them. You have to identify them and replace them with positive beliefs. Positive beliefs could be, In the past, I've done hard things and I've accomplished them. In the past, I've been able to get where I am. In the past, I have been praised for the resilience I have. In the past, I have gotten good grades. Get all those facts that you have and you use them to replace the negative beliefs and the negative cognitive biases that you have. Number 5 is to set clearer goals. Determine what you want and determine what you'll get out of facing the unknown. Say you want to apply for a job because you're tired of your current job and you want to get a better job. You define it. I want to get a job in this, and this. And when I get this job, this is what I expect to happen. I expect to have a salary increment. I expect to have more flexible hours to work on my side hustle. I expect to have a promotion. I expect to gain new skills. So you state all those clearer goals. And when you state this, what's going to happen? You are going to find the motivation to get out of that comfort zone that you're in and tackle those big goals that you have. I have done a decisive action plan that I've used to get where I am right now. And it's shared in one of the courses that I teach. But if you want to have the access to it, a link will be in the description of this episode for you to purchase it and use it in your own career development. Or if you're a paid member in my career coaching, you will have this resource for free. It is valued at $200. And this decisive action plan has helped me get to where I am. It's helped many of my clients achieve the goals that they've set. And it has also helped me grow this podcast and continue to make a source of income out of my career coaching. So having a decisive action plan is going to help you take action after you've looked at the pain points of not taking the action and also the pleasurable bit that will come from you taking that action. If you want to get the resource, a link will be in the description of this episode and you can get it for yourself for only $25 as of today. Number 6 is to gather your information and data. By now, you should know that I am a data-oriented person. That's why I chose the career I chose to be a scientist. And scientists, we work with data. All our conclusions and inferences are drawn from the data we get. So the good thing about collecting data is that you have something to base on your decisions. You have something to help you make informed decisions while tackling the fear that you have. Let's take it back to changing your career. If you want to change your career, gather the data that you need. Study the different companies that you're applying to. Study the different people who have gotten the jobs that you want to get. Study people who are on that career path that you're going on and see how have they gotten to where they've gotten. How have they achieved the goals that they've set? How have they done things differently? And what lessons can I pick from their experience? When you have this data, what's going to happen is that it's going to give you the confidence in what is possible. They say that when you see something happen, it gives you the confidence that you can also achieve it. If you don't have any role models, you won't have people you aspire to be like. So gather this data and use it to help you take the action that you want to take. If you're applying for the job, it might be different job adverts in that exact field that you want to get in. It might be organizing an informational interview with someone who already has that job. It might be listening to podcasts of people that talk about that career that you want to get in. It might be reading articles about that career path. It might be finding yourself a career coach to help you coach you through that transition. The benefit of a career coach is they will guide you on this journey to attain the goals that you've set. You can do the try and error where you'll do it your own self, but most times the journey is long and sometimes frustrating. If you don't have the resilience, you won't pull through to get to where you want to be. There is power in small steps. Small steps become big things. When you fear something, most times you're looking at its entirety. You're looking at it in its all fullness. I've told you, coming to Australia was a fear I had because I didn't know what to expect. But how I tackled this was I looked at what steps I could employ to break down my transition, my movement from my hometown, my home country, Uganda, to come to Australia. What I did is I looked at how to apply for the visa. I applied for the visa. How to find accommodation. I looked at the suburbs around where I was going to study at university. I spoke to my supervisors. I found people who are already in Australia and asked them about their experience and sought their guidance when it came to movement and immigration to Australia. I tackled it in small bits. That way, I didn't feel so overwhelmed. I was able to see that each step that I completed was leading me closer to where I was coming, which was relocating to Australia. So if you have any fear, break it down. Do not look at it as a complete thing because that gives you an abstract. But if you break down the steps that you're going to take to overcome that fear, you'll see yourself on the other side. Last but not least, seek help. I have talked about seeking help. The help might be through a career strategist if you're aiming at overcoming fear to advance your career. It might be help from a therapist who knows more about how the brain functions, how to overcome fear. It might be through family, friends, and colleagues who are on the path that you want to take. It might be just talking to your spouse, your family members, and telling them your fears. Help is very important, and many of us underestimate the value seeking help can bring us. So if you need any help when it comes to getting out of your comfort zone, pushing those boundaries out of your comfort zone to stretch into the person that you want to be, you can book yourself a 30 minutes free call. The link will be in the description of this episode. If you found this episode insightful and valuable, please do me one favor. Go to your favorite app and leave me a review. A review will make sure that this podcast gets to the ears of people that it's going to benefit. My goal for this podcast is to impact 10,000 women and equip them with the skills, the knowledge, the tools to get out of their comfort zones and establish careers that they love, to help them package their skill set to earn their value. If you found something interesting in this podcast, you can also send me an email telling me what your aha moment was from this episode. I love reading all your emails and I'm sure I'll reply to them. Otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in and go out there and tackle this fear. Catch you in the next episode. I hope you've learned something from this episode. And if you have, please rate and review wherever you listen to your podcast. Subscribe to this podcast. Share it with your family, friends, and those that you think are interested in career development. Also, follow me on the socials, which is Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. The username is The Frame Solutions. I can't wait to speak to you in the next episode. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.